So, hi everybody and welcome back. This is a C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 88 and we try to solve the exercise. The exercise was actually to create a game. So, if you have created a game with all the knowledge and all the keywords which we learned so far, absolute perfect, because training, it's very important. And here I will present you my solution, and this solution is not finished. This is just the beginning. Actually, I've done in this video nothing. I just start here, but you can already see I have here a lot of code, and actually I am reusing code, and that's also a very good thing if you can do this. You have not to, because you are a beginner, and it is very good if you can write all from scratch. But if you get better and better in future and become more intermediate and professional, you have to use reusing code, because reusing code means you already have experience, you already did something which is similar, so you have just change a min of things or add something or get rid of some things, and that's yeah, you become really good in this way. So that's why I demonstrate this one in this video, how I reuse a code. We did already something similar like a game. I think that was also an exercise. Yes, it was an exercise, and there I created this riddle game which you can see here. Let me show you how that was. This exercise where it says here, it's a riddle, player number 1, enter your game, coder, and player number 2, Superman. And then they had to solve this riddle. So player number 1, enter your name. And then we can say, okay, let's say he says 3, and player number says 9, and you can see, coder, you are wrong. So this one is wrong, and Superman, you are right, congratulations. And now this was the game that was already good for our start, but now we extend this. So I reuse the code, which means I have already written this code. Perfect. Now I will just add knowledge to this one, which means I will extend the game. For example, I make there some options where the player can enter. No, let's say where the player get points, where there are more riddles and something like that. So, and this is the thing what I'm going to do. And yeah, let's get started. First of all, we have a problem here, and the problem was when I created this exercise that was at the start, and we put all in the int main function. So we repeat here a little bit. And yes, the problem, that's actually not a real problem, but we learned now functions and we learned loops and many things. We can use them, so we can structure them. And what I mean with that is I will put actually this one riddle where it says solve this riddle in a function. So I can just call it here in int main. Let's do this at start. So I go here and say I create a new function, and I call this return value. I'm not sure if I need a return value, so I start with void, because if I need a return value, I will change this later. So that's nice. I start with void and say riddle riddle 1, riddle game 1, riddle game 1. Let's call it anything, it makes sense, and I don't need any parameters here. We learned also parameters, which means when we call it, we can use it. In my case, I don't need, because I will just put all this code what I already have just here. Perfect. So I go here, and I'm already almost finished with my function definition. Now I have to put the code from here in. Let's do this as well. So what we have to do is, let's see, solve this as well, become smaller in here. I think from this point, you can see what I'm doing right now. To this point, I just take it out from there, and I just throw it in here and save this, and I have a problem. Yeah, you can see the many red lines here, and the reason for that is these are variable names, and variables are not in the scope. We talked about this one. The scope is here. They are all defined in int main. So I have, of course, used these variables here as well. And let's take them from here. So I think these are, let's see which I use. Number for player one, number, riddle, solution, number, player number one, and so, and name. So I think most of them here are taken. So let's copy them. Just let's see. I need here just num player 2 and all other. I need. I think I need to all of them. Let's copy this one here down. Paste them. And let's get rid of all. Only just let them here. Player number 1. So this one, because we don't need them here at this point. And so you can see I transformed this a little bit just to this version. And yeah, let's make here a little bit more like that. And let's see what we can change here. Make here also this one is okay. And all fine. So but right now I have still a problem that will not work. That looks like it will work, but it will not. I have even 2 problems when I watch this a little bit more carefully. Here is a initialized value. I'm not sure. And here we have not even initialized the value because that was where we started to learn this kind of stuff. This is bad practice. That's why I have to change this. Let's initialize them at least with default values, something like that. All right. Let's do this one. Because I didn't do this at the start and I have to do now. But here is again another problem, not only this one. So if I initialize them here, for example, this one could make a problem because I have them here and then I'm using them here as again. So I would define a local name here, and then here I would use another. So how we can solve that? Actually, of course, we can just put them here in, but that makes no sense because I won't use this player in the other riddles too. So I have here riddle game 1, and later I want make a function riddle game 2 or something like that. So this one I won't use global, and that is actually already a hint. I said global. We make this 2 variables just for this case global. So we have now global access to them, which means I don't need to define them here again, and they will be all time accessed on top. This one here I still keep local, and the reason for that is this is only interested for this riddle. So I mean they belong only to this riddle game 1, so they don't need to be set global. Here these names are all time for all riddles, and that's why we can use them on the global page here. So let's go on. So this will still not work. Why would this not work? Very simple, because here we have a function definition and we will call this here. Let's call this first. Of course, calling is also a reason why it's not working. And now it's still not working. Why? It shows no errors, but why will this not work? Let's start this and repeat this also a little bit. And the reason is, of course, no identifier. And the reason is I call the function before the definition is here. And this all is now the definition, right? That means we need to call it here a forward declaration. And you can write a forward declaration global or local, depends where you call it. Let's make this local, because we need it just here. So let's make here a forward declaration. And we learned also a forward declaration is very easy. Just copy this one here, paste in, And now we have a forward declaration, and then we call this here, and this is now connected with the definition on bottom. Very good. The next problem is, or let's say not a problem, what I said is later we will have here many functions, right? And if you want to search a function, just right click it and go to definition or declaration. These two things go to here, this go to definition and go to declaration are very important at start. So it jumps directly for the definition and you can see what you wrote there, and declaration is just this thing here on top. Later in future we will change this declaration place to other header files, but when we learn this, that's why these two comments are here very important. So let's continue. Is it working now? I think it is working. Let's test it and see if it's true. So it says, also this is a riddle. Good so far. Is there any errors? And I see no errors so far. So we did the first question and we used a function. That's nice. And now I want a second riddle, right? So this was one riddle. Let's make another riddle because we want to extend our game. That was more or less a little bit changing the code so we can use now functions and they are more, let's say, easier to maintain. You see right now we have actually only this one, and now when we look main, we just concentrate on this place and this one because this is just global things which I need at the start. That makes sense. And let's continue. So the next thing is I create just another riddle game. Let's create the next one here. I write again void riddle game. You, it's not very creative, but I hope you are more creative than me. And then I have to find another riddle. And right off the bat, I don't know any. So, but let's make some setups and later I can include here the riddle, right? But let's make the setup. What I mean with that is just how I call this function and what I can expect. So here I just write again riddle game 2, and you see a problem here, right? And I need here again a forward declaration, and the problem is when I have all time this forward declaration exactly on the point where I declare where I call the function, it can get messy. And what I mean with that, it can get messy. Let me call this first, copy this one and write it here. So this would be a second forward declaration. And the problem with this one is I said if you have some variables or enumerations, libraries or anything like that, we write them all time on top so we know if we have them or not. This is the reason why we write them most time on top is only so we can see it instantly when we scroll up. In our case, we just write it here, and then I don't care, and then I don't have to look in code if I have a forward declaration, because then I say, okay, I need a forward declaration, it's on top. When I ask again, do I need a forward declaration, then I just watch on top all the time. Yeah, that makes only easier. So this is not necessarily, this is just practice. I think it's a good practice because when it makes your coding easier, faster, and that as a programmer you want that. You want less work as possible and easy to go. It makes more sense. Of course you don't have to. If you like it here, then do it. But later you have go through the code. I don't know if this is really good. So in my case, I keep it on top where the variables are or where other things are, which is important to know so I can look it up fast. And of course you can use right click, go to declaration, this is definition, this was peak definition, that's not, go to declaration for example, and then you see that was definition, declaration, It was not a declaration actually. I don't know why it's jumping there. Declaration is this one. And forward declaration actually. Nee, this is a call, sorry. This is the function call. This one is the forward declaration, and this is considered to be a declaration because this one here on the bottom is considered a definition with this tube bracket. That's very important. So I'm a little bit confused why it's jumping here. Anyway, let's continue. So now I know here on top are my let me continue. Here on top are my forward declarations. Then this one will work. And now I have just find another riddle. And this one is also good. And let's say I make a riddle 3 just for fun. Let's copy and I add this riddle later. Right now I have no clue about this riddle. And I will find them later. Oops. I make something on the side here on my second TV. Sorry for that. And yeah. So the point is I can make here placeholders. Well, what I mean with that is just write the code and fill in later when I found it in the web, for example, what riddle I want to include. So this is another placeholder and let's continue. So I make the same thing like before and I call here, oops, of course I have to change, yes. When you copy paste like me, change all time the names and careful about copy paste that you change all what you need. You see I made again almost an error. So let's call this free. Yeah, something like that. And then riddle. Okay, come on. Riddle game 3 called, and here the same forward declaration here on top. Let's do this also. White and paste. And yeah. So, and this is an easy way to use functions, and I think it's not too difficult, but let's see what I can do. So this is working, and let's say the riddles we assume they will work too when I include them, and when I include them I will probably include them similar to this one here. Depends on the riddle, of course, because if they are not necessarily like them, but depends on the riddle. Let's let them open. We can include them later. Let's concentrate here about our coding sections a little bit. I said we can add points. So what I mean with that, for each point, we can add, for each riddle, sorry, for each riddle we add points, and then we calculate later who got the most points. For right now, when I start this game here, I say only 1 or something like that, and that's too less, right? And the next problem is here, it is not going to the next riddle. So we have not, let's solve this first perhaps. We solve first that this program is not stopping at this point and jumps to the next riddle. So how we are going to do this? So we watch here. Here to this point where the first riddle is finishing, like I said, it jumps from here to the first riddle. It's finishing this first riddle, then it jumps back, and then it jumps into the next riddle. So what I have just to do is connecting this riddle with this one anyhow, and just write something in, just for test purposes. Let's copy this one here, paste this one here in, and see if this is true. Oops, Control Z, did something again. And let's see if this is true. So what we expect now is that it's asking 2 times the same thing, right? And this is just to test if the code is working. So not the content will be the riddle, but the code. Let's see. Oh, there, Superman. Okay, 9, 9. And here, Coder, you are wrong. Superman, you are right. Congratulations, solve this riddle. Okay, this one is working. And you see, it will jump to the next and so on. So this is perfect, absolute perfect. So I have just write here functions, which will jump to the next one, back, and then jump here, execute it back, and then comes here, and we are finished. So that is really nice, which we can assume that this one will work as well. Perfect. So then we have solved this one. Now let's solve the next problem. The next problem was I want get points. So I mean, later, depends on how much he was right, each player should get points in my case. So how we are doing this, how we can make points. And the question here is actually only, should we make this points variable global or local? Local would be meaning that I create here, let's say a function again or something like that. But I think you can see it right here. It is nice to make them global, because if we have them global, we can use them in all these functions, right? Without recreating them. So let's make them global points. Let's write them. We know you can use points with floats, which means with decimal point numbers and so on, or with integers, which I'm going to use. And the reason for that is points growing up, and easy is just give 10 points, 100 points, or it depends on which number you like. But these points are very easy. Let's use here a primitive int points for player number 1 and initialize it with 0 at start, and the same goes here for player number 2. Let's copy this one, and now they are globally used, and that's okay in this case because I want to use this one here calculated in all the different functions. So let's continue. Now we have find, of course, now the next problem, and the next problem is, okay, I add points, but here at this riddle I must find now to distinguish when you get points and when you not get points, and actually that's very easy at this point. And the reason for that is because we already get information when he is right and wrong, right? We have here an if statement, and the if statement is already checking if he's right and wrong. If he's right, you are right, congratulations, we just add points. If he's wrong, then we do not adding nothing. So we have just to add points when he's right. Perfect. So I need just add here points. So I solved this very simple, and of course I must check which player here. That's where the only important thing here. So I take this one here, copy this one here, and when he is right, and this is player number 1, it says here name player number 1, I just add him, let's say all time for each riddle, 10 points. Good. And I have to do perhaps this one here. Again, let's do this one here. And the reason why I'm doing this way is perhaps I can use this one in all other functions too. With this this calculation, I can now reuse all time when I'm calling it. Let's do this here just for this test purpose too, even if it's not right. Let's copy, we check just that the functionality is right here. So let's go here, this is player number 1. If it's right, 10. And the same goes later for player number 2. So let's give them also point. And here I copy paste, careful, change the things right. So we have to change this one to 2 and this one to 2. All time, and the same goes for the other place here, and this one is player number 2, and only when he is right. And here we can actually, I could copy this other one, but okay, this one works as well. So now, and yeah, we could make this one for this 3 later too, but let's do it for this 2 because I have to change this riddle here perhaps anyway. This is just to make the code working. The point system works. Let's test it if it works, not just saying, because testing is a very important thing too. But now it makes no sense to test it because we have no output. Let's make an output so that we can visually see that this one is yes, useful. And for this purposes, test purposes, I will uncomment this code for now, because this one is just similar to this one. Only the content will later change. So let's uncomment this one. Comment and comment this one as well, because later I can activate them if I want. And now I can test them only for these two riddles. Let's do this. And I need now an outprint of the point system, which means a calculation, right? So this one is adding, this one is adding, and this is a very easy solution in my case. Why? Because this point system are adding globally, right? Every let me show you this here. If I'm right, I get 10 points here on top. If I'm here right, I get again 10 points here on top, which means I have 20. And then in the last step, I just need to print this out. So let's make a new function which is printing out this player points and this player points. So that's a new function. Let's close this one here for this moment. And this one we can add if we want, and let's create a new function. Let's at all times start with the definition, because depends on the definition we can see if we need a parameter, right? But till now, you saw here I don't need anything, and here perhaps I need something, but not really. Actually, I don't need here any parameters too, and that's very nice. I use again the void result of the game. This is the function result of the game, and that makes sense. The name makes sense, I hope, because when I read it, I should understand it instantly, and I think I understand this function instantly. And this function we have to code now, because this is not a placeholder like this one. This content for the riddle 2 we can change with a real riddle, but this one we can't change. We have to solve it right now, and let's do it. So the result of the game is actually very easy. We are just printing out these two player names, and we are formatting the text. So this is absolute. Let's do it. Let's write it as it is, cout, and what I'm going to do is just write player, make your text play. Of course, you could get the player name if you want. For example, name player number 1, this here. Use it, and then yes, let's use it, his name. Instead of saying play, I wanted to say player number 1, right? Instead of writing this one here as a string, write it here as a variable, and then the variable value will use, and that will be what the player entered. So let's write this one, player name player number 1 was it? Okay, that's why it's not coming up. Name player number 1. All right, and then we say yes, let's make here a little bit space, and then let's make this one, and we write here its value. So that was very easy. I have just to write points for player number 1. That's very good. Let's copy this one here. So I make my life really easy to use very simple things, but of course you should make your life not too difficult, only if it needs. So let's continue. Points for player number 1, and I need definitely new lines and so on for formatting, but let's see if I can, if I have to or can skip that. So this one I copy, just again copy and paste and change names here, because I know this is 2 and I know this is the 2 for on top. When I click on this one, you know, this player number 2 is selected, and this is also very nice that you can see how it's connected when it's highlighted here, and highlighted here, then you know it is connected in how. And the same goes for this one. Why was this one? Yeah, it's all fine. All right, and let's continue. And we are almost finished with this points, but of course I need again a forward declaration. And let's do this one as well. Copy forward declaration here. Paste. And this forward declaration at this point I'm just doing for demonstration purposes. Of course you can put all the code here on top too. Don't forget this one, then you don't need any forward declaration. And we need of course calling the code as well. So we have done almost all, just not called it till now. And you can see we made easy use of this function call now, and now we have done this one as well. So this one is optional, this one later, and let's test it. All time test your code, so far you go. So let's see what I have here. Let's see if I get points. So coder Superman. And now here is solve this riddle, what becomes smaller, and so on. And then you write, for example, for test variable 6, the other writes 9, and this one is the same. Let's go here 9, and this time here 9, and we see a problem. Coder, you are right, congratulations. Superman, you are right, congratulations. This is okay, but here coder 10, 20 is also okay. Actually, all is fine. Actually, all works, only just perhaps a formatting problem here, a space. And yes, it's working so far. And I think with that, I will stop this at this point here. It's not finished. We have to go a little bit more in this exercise because we just started. And what I want to do here in this exercise, make it much more complex, because I want to repeat as much as possible keywords with if statements again, switch statements again, comparisons, if while loops and for loops and all this kind of stuff I will bring in this exercise too. This was just a little bit beginning of our extending the code, but you can see right now with using these functions here, it becomes very easy. You can see that it jumps in int main, and then it solves this one, it jumps back, it solves this one, it jumps back, it solves this one, it jumps back, and so on. But of course we need a little bit more complex things. I hope you made a much better game than me, because this riddle game is cool, it's not bad, but it's also not the most difficult one, I think. But anyway, let's see what comes next. So with that said, if you have any questions or any complaint, just write it on the comment section. And like I said, train these exercises. They are very important, even more important than just learning the keywords, because these exercises will make you later real good. And that's why exercise. I hope you make more exercises than just learning the keywords. And with that said, good luck and see you in the next video. Bye.